beneath the suffocating veil of stars and ash, the Imperium poses a question older than time itself. What wakes beneath a world long dead? No voice remains to answer, only the echoes of a forgotten war, whispered through millennia of silence, buried under the relentless weight of rust and bone. Here lies a planet forgotten by the light of the Emperor. Its surface a shrine of ruin and divine wrath scars etched deep by the march of gods and the blood of forsaken legions. The ground remembers, even as its children crumble into dust, fragments of metal and faith scattered like prayer beads across a shattered empire. This is a world where machines murmur dark hymns, and the wind carries the hollow cries of lost saints. Here majesty and madness intertwine. The sky burns with the ghosts of gods who have long since turned away, leaving nothing but ruin and an ancient, restless memory that awakens in the shadows. The planet's surface is a cathedral of desolation. It's a place where forgotten memories bleed into the present like poisoned holy water. Anguished stone faces, carved into cliffs, gaze down upon endless fields of shattered armor and broken banners. The land itself seems to pulse with a latent power, a dormant fury brewed in the fires of archaic war machines long since silenced. Scraps of a once glorious chapter, scrawled in the blood of the fallen, lie half-buried beneath layers of sediment, telling tales neither Adeptus archivists nor the ecclesiarchy dared to recount. Here the laws of time fracture. The past seeps into the now, and spectral echoes of ancient oaths awaken dormant servitors still bound to a cause lost to the ages. Faith struggles to burn bright in this cosmic graveyard where hope was once born and extinguished. Within the blackened expanse of forgotten cathedrals, biomechanical idols stand sentinel. Their hollow eyes flickering with the last vestiges of the Omnissiah's grace, corrupted yet still divine. They sing a mournful liturgy, a dirge that vibrates through the soil, a memory etched into every cinder. The once proud souls who fought and fell here are not merely dead, they are imprinted upon the very essence of the planet. Their suffering a sacred echo trapped in endless cycle. Whispered prayers are carried on the choking winds, beseeching a salvation long denied, while the remnants of cults, lost and heretical, hunt the silent ruins for relics that could turn the tide of forgotten crusades or damn them anew. This world, abandoned by the Imperium, holds secrets drenched in sanctity and blood, artifacts that defy the very fabric of reality, threatening to unravel the fragile veil between faith and madness. As the twilight of eternity descends, the silence fractures under the metallic hum of resurrected servitors. Old war engines, dormant since a cataclysmic edict, stir to imperfect life, their movements jerky and unnatural, yet relentless. Their awakening forms a dirge heard only by the winds, an unsettling testament to battles woven into the planet's DNA. The air is thick with iron tang and forgotten prayers. As spectral echoes of imperial warriors flash briefly in the oily haze, their visages distorted by time's cruel hand. Yet these phantoms are no gentle ghosts. They pulse with restless purpose, bound by ancient algorithms and oaths that transcend death itself. Above them, the sky corrupted, bleeding with celestial fury hints at a cosmic veil unraveling, one torn between the sacred and the profane, heralding a secret yet unspoken. In the deepest crypts beneath fractured spires, an ancient reliquary whispers to those who dare listen. Inscriptions long effaced from the codices of Terra speak of a chapter lost, one wiped from imperial memory by the highest decree of the Emperor's grace. Their sin was impossible to name, their fate too dreadful to recount. Scorched fragments of their battle standard remain, sterile and silent, yet radiant with a power forbidden to mortal comprehension. Here lies a truth abhorred by the ecclesiarchy, a weapon forged from the fabric of the warp itself, wielded at the twilight of the age of apostasy, a device believed to unmake stars and gods alike. Yet its last activation shattered time, fracturing realities, and sealing this world in an eternal tomb. What survived beneath the psychic maelstrom was no savior, but a sickness that now dreams, buried deep beneath the cold stone and silence. The land remembers because it lives a hive mind of decay and defiance. Its flora warped by the taint of the warp, its creatures twisted forms of blasphemy and resilience. These abominations haunt the ruins, their eyes gleaming with unholy intelligence. Reacting to the faintest pulse of ancient techno-arcane signals, pilgrims who wander here vanish beneath the creeping shadows, their screams lost to the void, swallowed by the voracious hunger of the planet's dark heart. It is whispered among the outcasts of nearby systems that this world does not merely imprison the past, it preys upon it, feeding on memories and faith, twisting devotion into despair.
Ow.
The forgotten war has left scars deeper than flesh, and the planet's shadowy embrace hides horrors that even chaos dares not reckon with. Amid the ruins, a lone figure moves, a silent explorer clad in tattered robes of the Adeptus Mechanicus, marked by symbols long abandoned by the forge guilds. His cog-toothed staff is etched with warnings, but his eyes burn with an obsession older than the stars themselves. He seeks the relic known only as the Ecliptic Shard, an artifact believed to hold the final key to the lost war's end. His presence disturbs the silence. Machines hum beneath his skin, and sacred prayers fall from his lips like coded incantations. Every step he takes is a defiance of death, a testament of unwavering faith in the face of oblivion. Behind him, the ruins whisper warnings lost on mortal ears. For some knowledge is a burden too great, and some truths are curses waiting to awake. Whispers of a forgotten legion reach through the void suns of a chapter erased by time and treachery, their armor fused to bone, their souls bound eternally to this soil. They were neither traitor nor hero, but damned by circumstance and silence. Their final battle was one shrouded in shadows and blood. Fought across realms seen by no other eye, where the Emperor's light faltered and the warp clawed at fate's very seams. The dead legion's banners, torn from reality, flutter like specters in a windless void, their sigils lost, but not forgotten. Unknown to the wider Imperium, their fate became a dark seed, planted deep within the roots of this forsaken world, waiting for the moment when faith becomes fanaticism and memory turns to ruin. The skies churn with roiling warp storms, unnatural and foul. As the planet's psychic heart awakens in tandem with the relic's call, psykers long dead whisper warnings through the static of broken vox chambers, voices half-mad with revelations no soul should bear. It is said the planet itself is alive, a vast psychic wound bleeding into reality, its very essence a scar from a war that should have remained buried. The storm conceals more than lightning. It hides the shape of something immense and terrible shifting beneath the surface, an ancient power once bound in iron chains, now straining against its bonds. As tendrils of warp energy crack the heavens, the delicate balance of fate trembles beneath a weight no mortal hand can hope to steady. The herald of this ancient nightmare steps from shadow half-machine, half-legend a custodian forgotten by time, tasked once with guarding the boundary between death and unbeing. His eyes glow with a cold light devoid of mercy or hope. His charge is the relic, but his allegiance lies buried beneath layers of cryptic protocol and whispered iconography. He approaches the lone mechanicus pilgrim, voice a rasp of grinding gears and ethereal echoes, announcing that the time of recollection has come, and that some histories are better left unawakened. Their confrontation forms a clash not merely of flesh and will, but of epochs and destinies entwined. Yet deeper in the shadows, an even darker presence stirs, watching, waiting, its motives unreadable and far beyond comprehension. As the winds howl through shattered spires, the ground beneath trembles, a subtle shudder that ripples through layers of reality. The relic's power pulses weakly, but unmistakably, a heartbeat in the void. The mechanized guardian's warning echoes, the past is not dead, it dreams. And as the pilgrim reaches for the ecliptic shard, darkness twines itself around the edges of his vision. For beneath the relic's light lies a secret, a fracture in fate itself, an ancient betrayal folded deep into the fabric of time. The forgotten war is not over. It never will be. Somewhere beyond the veil, an unseen eye watches, its gaze turning toward the stars, where nothing is silent and everything remembers. The fragile light of the ecliptic shard pulses like a dying star in the pilgrim's grasp, casting flickering shadows that twist and breed doubt within the sanctified corridors of his mind. Here, beneath layers of sanctimony and iron-willed faith, storm of whispered heresies gathers a fracture in devotion, where loyalty is both a blade and a chain. The mechanicus scholar finds himself torn between reverence for the omnissiah and the creeping suspicion that the relic's power was wrought through forbidden means, its origins entangled with the dark cunning of Xenos and warp sorcery alike. As he delves deeper into forgotten archives, the veil between salvation and damnation thins, revealing that this lost war was not merely fought on battlefields, but within the hearts of men consumed by fear, ambition, and despair. Echoes of prayers long thought pure begin to falter in the minds of the broken faithful who guard the relic's crypt. Their chants, once ironclad and unyielding now, quiver with uncertainty, haunted by shadows that speak of betrayal among their own. Among the legions that once marched under the imperial banner, whispered named surface champions turned traitors, saints who fell to ruin, and nobles whose piety masked insatiable hunger for power. This revelation seeps into the ranks like a poison, warping loyalty into suspicion and faith into fanaticism. Altars, once bathed in the gleam of reliquaries, start to bear the stains of doubt as the very doctrine that holds the Imperium's splintered shards together threatens to unravel. Here, in the suffocating dark, morality is no longer a compass but a weapon, and every worshipper prays for a salvation that may never come. Within the sprawling war chambers etched into living rock, cryptic debates rage beneath vaulted shadows. Tribunal priests argue with tech priests, the former favoring divine judgment, the latter bound to cold reason and data streams. Political intrigues coil among them like venomous serpents, each faction seeking dominion over truth itself. The mechanicus pilgrim senses the precarious balance, their fragile alliance held not by shared faith, but by mutual fear of the revelations hidden beneath the planet's crust. There is talk of a hidden secta, forgotten conclave who once wielded the shard's power to shatter entire fleets in secret wars of the spirit and mind. Their whispered name is a curse both feared and denied, the Eclipsed Covenant. Their betrayal fractured not only the battlefield, but the soul of the Imperium itself, and now it threatens to resurface amidst the gathering shadows. The broken warriors, who still clutch battered banners, stumble through memories twisted by time and warp taint, their minds a labyrinth of despair and fractured loyalty. Some see the relic as salvation, a symbol of the Emperor's mercy. Others a blasphemous beacon heralding the end of all things. Their dreams are fractured mosaics of past battles, visions of blood-soaked sanctuaries and screams drowned beneath chants. These veterans bear not only wounds in flesh but scars upon spirit, their faith a fragile thread stretched taut over an abyss of despair. As they gather by the relic's crypt, old grievances rise like tidal waves, threatening to crash and break the unity forged in fire. The lines between heroism and heresy blur. Allegiance becomes a flickering candle swallowed by cold shadows. The war still rages, not merely against Xenos or chaos, but within the very souls sworn to protect mankind. In the dying light, the mechanicus pilgrim uncovers a fragment of forbidden knowledge, a hologram warped by centuries, yet clear in its secrets. It reveals the ecliptic shard was no mere weapon, but a prison, a vessel designed to contain an entity older than the Imperium itself. The projection shows the demise of a forgotten god, twisted by the warp into something monstrous and sublime. This revelation shatters all certainties. The relic's power is born not from pious strength, but from the sacrifice of a divine prisoner, whose whispers still poison the mind of the planet. To wield the shard is to court madness and damnation, yet the pilgrim's resolve hardens. Beneath the silent chorus of crumbling cathedrals, the line between savior and heretic dissolves. A slumbering horror waits to claim its due, and the truth of faith is a blade that cuts all ways. As the dormant war engines groan back to life, the planet's inhabitants are shaken by inexplicable convulsions, visions bleeding into reality, and a chorus of unearthly voices echoing beneath the soil. Priests and warriors alike feel the stirrings of a cosmic fracture, a rupture in fate that rends the cosmos so subtly, no eye but that of the blessed and cursed might perceive its widening maw. Among the high priests, a secret council convenes, fearful that the relic's awakening risks summoning the forgotten god's essence back into the material realm. Here faith is a double-edged sword. To deny such horror risks eternal damnation, yet acknowledging it means embracing a darkness that could consume the entire system. Their prayers twist into a litany of despair. For the forgotten war was not a mere conflict but a cataclysm whose echoes still demand blood and souls as tribute. In the swirling mists of the planet's surface, a hallowed sanctuary bears the scars of ritual and battle-carved symbols bleed with ethereal light, the handiwork of psykers who defied death and reason. Here, the mechanicus pilgrim confronts a specter from the past, a psyker whose mind was shattered in the war, now a prophet, cursed to roam limbo between flesh and ether. Her fractured voice spills revelations of atrocities committed in the name of purity, dark experiments, blending flesh, machine, and warp essence, forbidden by imperial decree, but performed in shadowed halls. Her presence unsettles the faithful, reminding them that the Imperium's righteousness is a veneer masking horrors beneath. Loyalty itself is questioned. Was this war fought for salvation or dominion? As murmurs ripple through the faithful, faith fractures further, no beacon remains, only a gathering dusk. Political ambition festers within the court of planetary governors, shadowed alliances forged in whispers and blood. Some see the relic as a means to power beyond mortal reckoning, a lever to wrest freedom from the crushing grip of Terra's distant throne. Others, blinded by zealotry, demand its destruction, fearing its secrets will unmake the imperial creed. Schemes entwine like serpents in the darkness, assassinations, betrayals, and bribery weave a tapestry of chaos beneath the mask of imperial order. The pilgrim's quest becomes entwined with these mortal ambitions, their tenuous mission endangered by foes both unseen and obvious. The certainty of righteousness dissolves here, swallowed by the starving maw of political decay, where loyalty is barter and faith a token in a game played by shadows. Amidst these depths, an alien presence stirs a Xenos relic. Dormant beneath the planet's crust, awakens in response to the shard's ascent. Its technology hums with terrible intent, communicating not in words but with psychic screams that wrench the planet's fractured dreamscape. The boundaries between friend and foe blur as the mechanicus pilgrim glimpses the alien artifact's terrible purpose. It was once a prison for something older than even the forgotten god, a cosmic predator that devours worlds and devotions alike. The revelation unsettles all belief humanity's enemies may be woven into the very fibers of their salvation and damnation. As the alien signal pulses, the ground trembles, and the specter of annihilation rises once more, cloaked in mystery and ancient vengeance. The holy tribunal convenes beneath the blackened sky, cloaked in ritual and dread, to judge the pilgrim's discoveries and decree fate. But even as decrees fall like thunder, doubt blossoms among their ranks. Some see the mechanicus scholar as a savior bearing truth. Others brand him a heretic whose knowledge will rend the Imperium's fragile heart. The division cleaves at the soul of the Imperium aligned here, sparking a clandestine war of faith and intrigue beneath the veneer of imperial order. The relic's power becomes a litmus test: who serves salvation, who seeks ruin. Their whispered arguments sever ancient bonds, as the planet's dying light casts long shadows over faces etched with fear, piety, and ambition. In this crucible, loyalty itself becomes a battlefield, and righteousness a fading echo. On the final breath of night, as warp storms rend the sky in spectral fury, a forbidden ceremony unfolds deep within the decaying cathedrals, led by those who crave the shard's power beyond salvation or damnation. With whispered incantations, they peel away the layers of sacred law, summoning the first living breath of the forgotten war's darkness. Amidst the rising warp flames, the pilgrim's vigil shatters as voices human and otherworldly blend in a cacophony of revelation and despair. The tapestry of the past unravels, and the true enemy reveals itself not in armies or Xenos fleets, but in the shattering of belief itself, an ancient heresy reborn beneath the stars, its name lost but its shadow eternal. The planet remembers, its war is not ended. And fate, once thought cast in stone, fractures beneath a ruthless eclipse. In the choking dusk, beneath a dying star's pallid gaze, the mechanicus pilgrim kneels, amidst the shattered whispers of his own soul. His voice is a ragged confession, a litany against the void. Faith is an ember suffocating beneath waves of despair and cosmic indifference. This world, a sanctum for forgotten gods and broken saints, folds around him like ancient parchment scorched at the edges, fragile and stained with regret. He recalls the distant echoes of a simpler devotion, a time when the Emperor's light was unyielding and grace unbroken. Now those memories unravel like frayed threads, threatening to drag his spirit into the abyss. Beyond the heavens, war rages eternal, a living wound bleeding stars and souls alike. Yet within this crucible of ruin, a whisper builds a secret buried too deep to be quickened by hope, echoing beneath the bones of creation, waiting to rend destiny itself. The shrill wail of warp engines, torn from millennia of silence, cuts across the desolate plains. Ancient war relics awaken, their twisted forms lurching into a savage ballet of destruction. Legionnaires both spectral and flesh-bound clash in a tempest of shattered loyalty and forgotten oaths. Among these haunted veterans, devotion is a fractured mirror reflecting shadows of past glories and betrayals. They crumble beneath the weight of their own histories, caught between reverence for the Emperor and a desperate need to escape the hellfire of their conscience. Their crusade is no longer against mere foes, but against the insidious decay of self, a battle to grasp meaning before oblivion swallows all. Each explosive encounter cleaves belief from bone, every fervent cry mingling ash and prayer into the sickening smell of dying faith. Within the hallowed sanctum of a war-torn cathedral, priests convulse in trance-like agony, the warp's poison seeping through their stained vestments. Shadows coil around their shattered visions, revealing hidden fractures in sacred dogma. Their whispered prophecies speak of a cosmic lie that the imperial creed itself was forged not in divine truth, but in desperation and deceit. This revelation spreads like a plague, twisting the hearts of the devout, corroding weapons once wielded in holy wrath. The distortion seeps into dreams and waking thoughts, implanting a rot that infects all certainty. A growing schism cleaves the God-born truths from the lies of men, and within that chasm, heresy waits patiently, a serpent coiled beneath the altar, ready to strike at the soul of humanity's last hope. The mechanicus pilgrim wrestles with this revelation, his mind a battlefield where faith and reason clash like titans. He pores over relics and data cores, his thoughts splintered between reverence for the Emperor and the harrowing possibility that their war was engineered from shadows. With every recovered fragment, the narrative unspools a cosmic conspiracy written in forgotten blood and starlight. Indicating a power beyond the Imperium's grasp, the shard was never meant to save. It was a prison for a cosmic secret so terrible it defies comprehension, a truth deliberately hidden beneath layers of sanctioned silence. His journey becomes a pilgrimage not toward salvation, but into the abyss of inevitable damnation, where belief itself threatens to dissolve into the incomprehensible dark. Across this war-ravaged world, a lost legion's bones stir beneath the brittle earth. Their armor fused to ancient flesh, they rise as revenants of a long-canned war, their minds fractured between glory and anguish. These forgotten warriors carry a message bitter with regret. Loyalty is a chain, faith a shackle forged in torment. Their silent march against a sky poisoned with warp fire is a requiem for a righteousness that betrayed them. Their presence is a monstrous echo of the past, a warning that history is written not on scrolls, but on the bones of those who betrayed and were betrayed. Each step resonates with a sorrow that is both personal and cosmic, a dirge that reverberates in the heart of all who still cling to the fragments of humanity's fading soul. In the depths of twisted crypto chambers, an ancient psyker's mind fractures anew, the warp's currents tearing through her essence like acid through steel. Her visions spill forth fragments of a cosmic tapestry woven from cruelty, sacrifice, and forbidden knowledge. She glimpses the genesis of the shard's power, born not from the Emperor's holy will, but from the fusion of Xenos science and blasphemous warp thaumaturgy. This confession rends the veil of sanctity, drowning hope in unrelenting dread. She pleads in silent agony, a martyr to truth, as her final act is the shattering of doctrine itself, echoing through the minds of all who hear, overturning centuries of dogma with the weight of unbearable revelation. The political intrigue festers, coiling tighter around the relic's growing influence. Governors and warlords weave clandestine pacts, their eyes reflecting the hunger for supremacy amid the galaxy's twilight. The pilgrimage of truth becomes a pawn in their merciless game, each faction vying to claim the shard's power as proof of divine favor, or a weapon to redefine the stars. Church operatives and secret inquisitors lurk in shadow, driven by conviction or corruption, ready to strike the first blow for a future written in blood. Loyalties fracture, alliances crumble, and the Emperor's light flickers uncertainly as power and faith collide in a tempest of calculated deceit and desperate hope. A signal hums beneath the surface alien, haunting, predatory. The Xenos presence concealed beneath layers of planetary crust stirs in response to the relic's pulse. It's awakening a nightmare whispered through the void. The mechanicus pilgrim recognizes the import of this response. The forgotten war was but one strand in a web, woven by cosmic predators who feed on faith, war, and despair. This realization forges alliances with a terrible inevitability, framing humanity's plight as a microcosm of an ancient hunger far beyond mortal reckoning. The alien intelligence's return threatens not only the Imperium but the very fabric of reality, heralding a new plague of stars and souls consumed. Within vaulted chambers, tribunal judges debate furiously, their words heavy with the weight of impending doom. The mechanicus scholar faces silent trial not of flesh but of spirit where the essence of belief is questioned and shattered beneath the sacred gaze of a dying order. The trial fractures the sanctified fakat, revealing corruption so profound it taints the very core of imperial faith. Divisions cleave at the heart of the tribunal, driving a wedge between those who cling to hope and those who embrace the grim darkness of absolute despair. As the crescendo of accusation and condemnation builds, the ritual of judgment becomes a funeral pyre for justice, consumed by the very darkness it sought to defy. The psyker's curse blooms into full revelation, psychic storm breaching the cathedral's defenses, rending minds in its wake. Her final message pierces the void. The shard is a key. But not to salvation instead, it unlocks a cosmic chamber of endless hunger and cosmic deception. This revelation sends shockwaves through the pilgrims and clergy alike, their faith fracturing into shards of terror and awe. The planet's secrets are a mirror reflecting the Emperor's unreachable throne tainted by lies and shadows older than the stars. As reality bends and fractures beneath the psychic tide, the very destiny of mankind is called into question. In the climactic ritual's aftermath, war erupts anew, as forgotten warriors and zealots clash beneath a sky ravaged by warp storms. Battles rage not only between flesh and machine, but between dogma and heresy, loyalty and rebellion. The mechanicus pilgrim stands amidst the maelstrom, a solitary witness shattered by revelation and gripped by resolve. The sacred and profane collide in bloodied dance, the planet itself crying out in agony and defiance. And just as hope seems extinguished, the final terrible truth unveils itself, a transformation wrought by the relic's power. An ancient being reborn not as god nor devil, but as something far more insidious, a remnant of creation's original sin, a harbinger weaving ruin into the very soul of the Imperium. Beneath a sky swallowed in ash and lit by dying embers, the mechanicus pilgrim stands alone, his mind haunted by the weight of irrevocable sins and fractured oaths. Each step forward is a scar etched deep into the soul of duty, a silent scream swallowed by the void of eternity. Around him, the remnants of one's grand legion shuffle with broken discipline, eyes hollow yet aflame with stubborn loyalty. The burden of devotion is a crushing yoke, borne in silence beneath the grinding cacophony of war's endless drum. Memory slides like molten steel beneath the surface, faces lost, promises shattered, and faith drained to its last trembling breath. Between the cold rust of relics and the rotting flesh of warfare, the galaxy bends, reshaped by each broken vow and unanswered prayer, testament to the cost of remaining steadfast when all hope is ash. In orbit, the dreadnought prouses silent colossus, forged of iron and sanctified rage as the first salvo of imperial bombardment pitches the planet into chaos. Below, shattered warbands brace against the coming storm, every soul caught in the space between silence and fury. These moments fold into sacred ritual, a measured breathing before the storm. Soldiers clutch rosaries and bolters with equal fervor, each heartbeat a solemn act of defiance. The whisper of fire on metal, the distant thunder of guns readying, and the tightening noose of inevitability rip through the thin veil, separating agony and salvation. The Imperium's wrath, vast and terrible, descends like a god's judgment on a world overdue for destruction, yet latent beneath devastation is a fear that these flames might only awaken what should remain dead. In the stagnant quiet, the whispers of the fallen grow louder, ghostly echoes threading through the shattered spires where chaplains once preached salvation. Fractured minds break under the silence, wrestling with memories of comrades lost to both enemy fire and their own faltering faith. The mechanicus pilgrim recalls a brother who, in the last moments of clarity, muttered of ancient betrayal, love noble vows traded for ruin beneath a veil of pious lies. Every whispered confession weighs like a stone upon his conscience, reminding him that loyalty is a tempest, relentless and merciless. The galaxy stars themselves seem to weep as the ruinous symphony crescendos, a silent requiem for souls who march willingly into the teeth of annihilation. Flashbacks seize him in these moments, a litany of failures and sacrifices etched in crimson light. Among them lurks the memory of a Primarch whose name was erased from both history and honor, a shattered hero swallowed by guilt and unspoken truths. In those fleeting visions, the pilgrim glimpses the brutal decisions that tore nations asunder, the burning of sanctuaries, betrayals masked as duty, and the sacrifice of innocence in the name of survival. The cost of righteousness is uncountable blood. Every vow dissolved into betrayal, every oath stained with the dark ink of necessity. These ghosts breathe life into his faltering resolve, compelling him onward beneath the crushing canopy of a universe that offers no reprieve, only more war and deeper shadows. The battleground trembles as wards and sigils ignite, hurled into the abyss by desperate psykers who clutch at threads of sanity with trembling hands. Their psychic screams tear through the fabric of reality, shattering the fragile peace before the storm. The warp's dark tide begins to rise, twisting minds and flesh alike in its blighted embrace. The mechanicus pilgrim hears the screams of those who once walked as saints, now torn asunder, remnants of humanity lost to the seductive maw of chaos. Yet, in these moments of madness there is clarity. War is more than conflict of arms, is a war of souls, a blight that cannot be purged by mere firepower. The very act of faith becomes a battleground where light and darkness vie for dominion over an imperiled soul. In the shadowed sanctum of political machinations, alliances fracture with a subtle venom, bred of fear and ambition. Lords and high priests plot beneath the veneer of unity, their whispered conspiracies wrapping around the relic's power like vipers. The mechanicus pilgrim senses the dark currents beneath the surface. A treacherous tide where survival demands betrayal and salvation is a currency traded with blood. Each faction claims righteousness, yet all seek dominion, waging war, not just with bolter and blade, but with lies and half-truths. As the intricate web tightens, the line between friend and foe blurs, leaving only the cold certainty of isolation beneath the stars. The galaxy itself becomes a chessboard, and the relic's fate holds as many keys to collapse as it does to salvation. Beneath the scarred earth, the ancient alien relic thrums, its dread intelligence festering in response to the unfolding chaos above. Its incomprehensible will stirs tendrils of psychic influence throughout the ruins, corrupting the very essence of space and time. The pilgrim glimpses half-mad visions of a predator older than history, a slaughterer of gods whose hunger transcends worlds and creed. This dreadful presence is not merely an enemy, is an existential shadow cast across the Imperium, a living nightmare that feeds on the fractures of belief and the decay of hope. The revelation is a gauntlet thrown down before the mechanicus pilgrim to stand and defy cosmic oblivion, or succumb and be devoured in the cold dark. A silent trial ensues within the vaulted halls of the tribunal, not of law but of spirit, where faith is weighed against truth and damnation looms on every verdict. The pilgrim's revelations are met with rage, fear, and denial, fracturing the tribunal and casting doubt upon sacred doctrines. Some hail him as a prophet, others as a heretic, and the rift rends the very fabric of imperial order. As the tribunal fractures, its members become unwitting heralds of chaos, each verdict to strike against the Imperium's last fragile bonds. The pilgrim stands at the crossroads, burdened by truths too vast to embrace, bearing the crushing weight of a universe poised on the brink of destruction. The psychic tempest swells with merciless power, engulfing the ruined cathedral in twisted light and shadows. Broken psykers scream in manic unity, their voices breaking the silence with cries that rend flesh and spirit alike. The pilgrimage of faith descends into chaos as the veil between reality and the warp thins to naught. The mechanicus pilgrim confronts this madness, his mind a battleground where ancient truths fight to survive the all-consuming darkness. The fabric of loyalty unravels, replaced by a trembling question: is salvation an illusion or a curse? Amid this storm, the planet moans a living testament to the sins etched into its bones and the merciless designs of fate. Amidst the shattered ruins, the pilgrimage reaches its crescendo as the transformation begins. The relic's dark light envelops the mechanicus pilgrim, reshaping flesh and essence alike. bending corporeal form into something both divine and abominable. His cry echoes through the blackened era sound, not of man, but of a star, dying in torment. Witnesses fall to their knees, torn between devotion and dread, as he becomes a vessel of both salvation and annihilation. This metamorphosis heralds a breaking point, the singular moment when the line between God and monster dissolves, and the fate of the forgotten war blooms into terrible clarity. The galaxy holds its breath, caught on the cusp of annihilation and revelation. As the final shudder of transformation settles, the sky fractures in a violent breath, the whisper of stars shattering under unseen blows. The mechanicus pilgrim, now neither wholly man nor machine, gazes outward with eyes that hold infinite sorrow and dark promise. His voice, layered with ancient echoes, declares a reckoning whose shadow will consume more than planets. The past is not merely remembered, it will rise to claim us all. As the world trembles beneath this truth, the cosmos itself seems to yielding to some deeper, older will, a reckoning born of blood, faith, and the silence between stars. Fate's fist tightens not for the last time, but in a terrible prelude to war's final chapter. The air trembles with the roar of 1,000 engines, a cacophony born of steel and fury, as the transformed mechanicus pilgrim strides forth. A being transfigured beyond flesh and machine, an avatar etched in sorrow and wrath. His voice cuts through the thunder like a cathedral bell, shattered by the hammer of despair words, both blessing and curse. Around him, legions broken by war and doubt rally, their fractured loyalty rekindled by the scorching light of his presence. The battlefield ignites with a hellish dawn as ancient war engines crawled from the depths, bringing ruin and salvation in equal measure. The clash is both cosmic and intimate, the struggle of one soul against the erosion of everything held sacred. Each strike resounds with the echoes of past betrayals and newborn hope. Frenzied cries rise to the heavens, prayers mingling with flame and blood, the agonizing hymn of a galaxy convulsing beneath the weight of its fate. Lightning splits the blackened sky as the alien intelligence, awakened and wrathful, emerges from the planet's shattered crust, a monstrous echo of creation's forgotten sins. Its form ripples with impossible geometry, a nightmare that devours stars and faith alike. The pilgrim's incandescent eyes blaze as he confronts this primordial terror, the embodiment of cosmic hunger and silent judgment. Their clash rends space and time. Reality shudders beneath blows that shatter worlds, and the very warp cries out in agony. Around them, the last vestiges of mortal armies falter or fall, caught between devotion and despair. The conflict becomes a dance of destruction, sacred and profane intertwined, where each moment pulses with the terrifying knowledge that salvation demands sacrifice beyond reckoning. Time fractures as reality bends, and the galaxies weep silent tears of ash. Amid this tempest of fury and grief, the shattered souls of the lost legion rise once more, not as mere revenants, but as symbols of defiance against oblivion. Their shattered banners, ragged and bloodied, become beacons of forgotten hope, carrying the last prayers of fallen heroes. The pilgrim, now a living reliquary, channels their strength in a mournful liturgy, a requiem woven from ancient oaths and broken vows. Each swing of his blade cleaves more than flesh-it, severs nightmares conjured by cosmic ruin. Yet in his heart festers a quiet torment, for with every act of salvation, the line between Redeemer and Destroyer blurs. The battlefield is a cathedral of suffering, where every death echoes as a confession, every sacrifice a testament to the thinning veil between light and darkness. The alien horror lashes out, tendrils of warp-infused malice tearing at the fabric of creation and sanity alike. Yet the pilgrim holds fast, a bastion forged from the fusion of faith and iron will. In the grinding chaos, memory surges, a silent montage of homeworlds burned, brothers lost to shadow and madness, and silent tears shed beneath cold starlight. His resolve crystallizes in these scraps of grace and pain. Amidst the universe's agonizing scream, he is at once priest, warrior, and penitent. The battle is a litany of prayer spelled in fire and broken bone, a measure of the intolerable cost of belief. The celestial choir fades beneath the thunder of war, leaving only the raw, trembling heartbeat of a cosmos fought over by gods and monsters. As the war rages, a sudden silence crashes through the storm of brief. shattering calm that seizes the breath and suspends the soul. In that trembling moment, the pilgrim glimpses the alien's true nature, not merely predator, but an echo of a primordial truth. A fragment of creation's original heresy, an unfinished note in the cosmic symphony that birthed gods and chaos alike. This revelation cleaves his spirit, a blade that spins between salvation and ruination, and he falters beneath its crushing weight. The war's meaning fractures, revealing a shattered universe where even the Emperor's light may be but a flickering candle in the infinite dark. His scream, half defiant, half mournful, rips through the sky, a herald of worlds undone. In raw desperation, the pilgrim wields the ecliptic shard once more, its dark light blazing with forbidden power. The relic answers his call, ripping open a jagged wound between real and unreal, past and future. Ancient spirits of the forgotten war surge forth, voices rising in a ghostly chorus that transcends time and space. The battlefield becomes both crucible and sanctum, sacred and profane, entwined in an eternal moment of reckoning. Yet this act exacts its toll, pulling the pilgrim closer to the abyss with every heartbeat. His flesh rends, his mind fractures, but through this torment pulses the faintest ember of hope, a new light bled from sacrifice and shattered truth, flickering stubborn against the void's relentless silence. Beneath the ruinous heavens, the political factions collapse into open war, their fragile alliances shattered by the pilgrimage's ascendance. High lords and priests alike descend into ruthless desperation, sacrifices laid bare beneath the bloodied sky. Loyalties dissolve into chaos. Sanctuaries become battlegrounds where ideological heresies spill into cold violence. The galaxy reshapes itself in the image of this chaos, fractured, bleeding, yet fiercely alive. In whispered shadows, the mechanicus servant turned savior is both beacon and blight, a symbol of humanity's will to endure and the fatal price of that endurance. His journey becomes legend and omen intertwined, a hymn to the furious dance of creation and destruction that defines this dying age. Amidst the carnage, the planet itself convulses, unleashing a final psychic wail that rends space and time in desperate defiance. The warp storms pulse with eldritch fury, tearing at the veil between realities and summoning visions of futures both glimmering with hope and soaked in ruin. The mechanicus pilgrim, battered and transcendent, steels himself against this cosmic maelstrom, its essence now fused irrevocably with the relic's dark power. He stands poised on the knife's edge of destiny, the last bastion between salvation and unmaking. Around him, the very stars tremble, bearing witness to a saga reaching its thunderous zenith, each breath charged with the unspoken dread of what is to come. In the aftermath, silence descends, a vast, suffocating quiet born of immeasurable loss and near apocalypse. Once burning stars flicker weakly above this scarred world, their light filtered through curtains of ash and sorrow. The mechanicus pilgrim, barely more than a shadow of his former self, rests amidst crushed relics and shattered dreams. His eyes hold the weight of all he has seen, the dawning realization that the war will never truly end, that sacrifice, lies, and faith are eternally intertwined. The cosmos shifts subtly, a tremor beneath the fabric of reality, as though the chains binding fate itself have been forever unmade. The forgotten war lives on not in victory or defeat, but in the cold space where hope and despair wage endless battle. The final breath of this cosmic lament is broken by a whisper carried on the dying wind, a name, a promise, or a curse heard by all but the pilgrim.
As
His gaze sharpens as the flickering light of the shard pulses once more, responding to a summons far older and deeper than the war itself. Beneath the ashes, beneath the ruin, something stirs, a remnant not yet slain, a darkness not yet quenched. The fate set in motion is no longer a story of mere survival, but the opening verse of a new, darker epoch. The mechanized savior rises slowly, the glow in his eyes burning cold, his voice a solemn vow. This is not the end. It is only the beginning. The shattered planet lies beneath a sky heavy with ancient stars, their faint light filtering through curtains of ash and silence. Once a crucible of fury and faith, now a graveyard where echoes fold into shadows, and the weight of endless war presses upon forgotten bones. Ruined cathedrals stand solemn, their stones cracked and worn like the faces of saints long lost to time. Within these hallowed halls, silence is sacred, a final prayer whispered in the dark, where the voices of the fallen drift like dying embers. Banners, tattered and bloodstained, hang limp in windless air, their colors faded to the dull gray of memory and regret. The relic's light dims to a faint pulse, a heartbeat in the void, marking not an end but a solemn pause in a story written in sacrifice and sorrow. The lone remembrancer moves silently through the overgrown battlefield, tracing the paths where legions once marched in indomitable procession. Each step stirs dust thick with ancient grief and forgotten glory, as gray ruins cradle the broken remains of war machines, and the skeletal hands of those who died clutch relics of a faith undone. The wind carries the soft, mournful howls of ruined servo skulls, their whispers a litany of questions no god ever answered. The remembrancer pauses, sensing the weight of countless sacrifices, each one a thread in a tapestry now frayed beyond repair. This world remembers not in triumph, but in the quiet lament of eternity, a reminder that all who endure carry the cost of penance and the burden of unyielding hope. Dark shadows fall across the crumbling hierarchies of faith and power, now hollow monuments to pride and despair. The ecclesiarchy's banners, once bright with celestial promise, lie sullied and forgotten in the dust. The memory of the mechanicus pilgrim lingers like a half-remembered hymn, a figure transformed by godhood and madness, whose choices shaped the fate of countless souls. His sacrifice, monumental yet unspoken in the annals of Terra, is recorded only in these silent stones and shifting sands, testaments to devotion broken and reforged. The galaxy beyond stirs uneasily, its countless worlds watching and waiting, forever bound to the fragile hope born from these echoes of ruin. Across the void, whispers of distant stars carry tales of calamity and courage, the hushed voices of those who survived to tell of gods and monsters clashing beneath dying suns. These stories, fragmented and incomplete, win through halls of power like silent prayers, not to explain, but to remember. Among them rise questions unanswerable by holy writ or imperial decree. What is the price of survival in a universe defined by endless war? How does one measure the cost of faith when gods themselves fall silent? These inquiries hang like spectral veils across the galaxy's bleak expanse, haunting the hearts of those who dare to listen beyond the noise of battle. The echoes of forgotten legions breathe beneath the surface of all things, silent guardians of truths lost and promises broken. They lie in wait beneath shattered continents, their vigil eternal, a reminder that memory is not static but alive, a force that shapes the very fabric of existence. As worlds turn and stars flame out, these ancient souls endure, a chorus of shadows chanting beneath the light of indifferent suns. They remind us that history is never truly done. It is an unending cycle where victory and loss are intertwined in a dance of ruin and rebirth. Their silent testament is both a curse and a benediction, a call to remember and to endure beyond the final breath. In the remnants of once proud fortresses, the last flame flickers, candles burned low in prayer and remembrance. The sacred texts lay cracked and stained, their words faded, but still resonant with the power of belief and lament. Monks and survivors alike gather in hushed circles, weaving fragments of hope from threads of despair. Songs of valor blend with dirges of defeat, crafting a tapestry of human spirit woven from the ashes. This fragile legacy endures not by might, but by memory, by the willingness to stand as witness to the cost of endless war. It is here, in this quiet, that faith takes on its most potent form, not in certainty, but in steadfast refusal to let the light die fully. The shadows lengthen over the remnants of ancient battlefields, and the stars look down, cold and distant. The darkness, the reliquance, a beacon of terrible power, rests, inert, its secrets folded beneath layers of dust and silence. No hand now stirs its dormant heart, no light flashes in its ancient core. Its story is unfinished, a silent enigma waiting beneath the ruins for voices that may never return. The watchers of the stars remain vigilant, knowing that the sins etched into this world's bones may one day awaken again, stirring fresh chapters in a cosmic saga that refuses to close. The universe holds its breath, poised at the fragile edges of memory and oblivion. Thus ends this chronicle, a whisper, carried on the winds of a dying age. The story of faith and ruin, of gods and monsters, and of the souls who dared to rise against the darkness. Its final lines shimmer like dust, drifting through an ancient cathedral of stars, timeless and haunting. The lingering question remains, unanswered and enduring. In the quiet after devastation, what is left to hold fast? What cost must be borne, so that the light of hope may flicker once more in the endless night? These are the shadows we inherit, the legacy of the forgotten war, and the burden of all who survive. Stand witness now, as these sacred words fade into silence. May they stir reflection, ignite courage, and inspire remembrance. The galaxy is vast, eternal, and filled with stories yet to be told. If this tale has stirred your soul amidst the darkness, honor the memory of those who suffered and sacrificed. Like, subscribe, share, and lend your voice to the endless chorus of remembrance. Speak your thoughts in the comments below, and stand with those who carry the flickering flame in the shadow of the stars.